A long, long time ago, my parents came to Guatemala as missionaries, and I studied here my first 3 years here in Guatemala, learning the language, adapting to the culture. So I am a sort of alumni. So that's how I learned about school. It was a wonderful experience to share with other people that were in a foreign land. My parents preferred me to have the full culture immersion, so after 3 years of adaptation, I was moved into Guatemalan schools. But I've always wanted to come back to CAG, and it's a place where I feel at home. As a multicultural person myself, I have a diverse background, so it's hard to find where you belong, and CAG is a wonderful place where I've found home, because if you find a stereotype, you'll find someone that will break it, because there are MKs that come from different parts of the world, and their parents were born in different parts of the world, so your passport is different and where you were brought up is different. So when they ask you where you're from, it's hard to answer, but that's kind of like what CAG is. Currently I'm elementary coordinator, and I started working at CAG as a kindergarten teacher. So I was first only kindergarten teacher, then I did a dual role as kindergarten and elementary coordinator, and now I am just elementary coordinator. Although we're never just one thing, there are always activities and events that come up that God can use us to serve whatever particular talents we have. And I see my role especially as care for the teachers, the elementary teachers. My priority is to make sure that they can develop what they need to do academically, spiritually, their discipleship in their classrooms. They have all the supplies they need, they have the tools they need, they're comfortable in our school and in our country, so they can do what they can do. And the fact that I've been in Guatemala for a long time, I know the country, I can assist them in many things, not just in the school coordinator and goals and all that academic area, but I can also encourage them in other things. Our school is oriented towards missions, and the families that work in our school are strongly involved in missions, and there are different kinds of missions, and I've seen how, as a missionary kid myself, I've seen how missions have changed. And sometimes a mission is to start a church, to directly evangelize, or they come as a social work. They come to help in orphanages or shelters for women. So we have all those different kinds of missionaries here at school, and our school encourages the children of those families, and there are different ways, and as we work with missionary kids, we see where they're hurting, and we see how, and I can see it as myself as a missionary kid, sometimes you resent your parents' ministry because you feel neglected, and that's where we can come in as a school and support the parents' ministry and also encourage the kids to grow and not distance themselves from their faith. It gives our students a global awareness. Kids grow up with multi-language classrooms, multicultural work groups, so the world is smaller for them. So when they graduate from school, they're not thinking, well, I'm just going to go to this state or this college or this community or this area. They're not thinking about one country or even 2 or 3 countries. They're just thinking as a world, as a place where they can outreach, and that takes away a lot of the fear of going into stranger, unusual, or to face a language barrier country. So they overcome all those fears in an early age, where having a friend that doesn't really eat the same things you do or doesn't speak the same language isn't intimidating to them, so it helps them outreach. Discipleship is a tool where growth happens, where accountability happens, and it's done much more in the secondary. But I see it also in an elementary with the teachers and their students. They don't see their students only as students, but they also see them as disciples, and how everything they do, everything they say should have a spiritual impact to their growth. First of all, being here, it's wonderful to see the different kinds of gifts that God brings every year to the school. We have had amazing people, gifted, talented teachers that are passionate about the mission, that God has called them elsewhere. And we feel that void, but it's for a very short time, because God moves people around and He brings people. So after being in CAG for 8 years, I don't worry anymore, because I look forward to seeing new talent and new gift. So if you have a heart to serve, if you have a heart for children, you have a heart for a community, you can come to CAG, or if you have a heart for missions to serve, and Guatemala is a place. It might sound cliche, but I think missionaries are among the best people in the world. They have a heart to give, and teachers and missionaries are my favorite people in the world. It's just a job based on heart. And it's hard to explain what drives a missionary heart or what drives a teacher's heart. It makes you not sleep, it makes you forget about yourself, it makes you forget about ambitions, personal desires, and that's very precious when somebody forgets about themselves completely and just focuses all their energy and effort in somebody else. And we want CAG to be a home and a shelter for all those that are just giving all the time. In a school like CAG, it's hard to separate where we were talking about discipleship. It's hard to decide when a class starts and the discipleship ends, or where the PE coach or the soccer coach ends and a discipleship starts, because it's all blended in. Because when a PE coach comes in, he sees his role not only as teaching rules and how to have good sportsmanship, but he knows he has a role as a Christian leader. So students are encouraged to have that spiritual growth whatever they're doing. And even a science teacher, he may be a pastor who is passionate about science. So it's hard to separate the discipleship and the classes and the extracurricular activities, because it all becomes one whole in encouraging growth. Some people come to CAG with an aching heart for missions, and they want to give of what they have. And once they come to the mission field, they start to receive. And they don't understand, or they don't realize at what point they came and started giving, and they just feel so full with all the, not just gratification from serving others, but maybe forgetting your selfishness aside and leaving your ambitions aside. Then you realize they're not that valuable, and it's very superficial. And you realize that sharing with a community, a small community that has a strong mission outreach, it satisfies so much more than having other things that are available for you.